and welcome to Your Hometown Solutions. I'm your host, Jean Newell from Waterview Realty, and in the studio with me today is our guest host, or co-host, I should say. Not a guest host anymore, Jonathan. Jonathan Lack with Waterview Realty, Waterview Title, and Lack Chartered.
Well, thank you for having me back, Jean.
I was thinking about our hosts that we have in here. We have a great guest coming up here in a few moments. But tell us again, Jonathan, some of the services that you provide. Everybody knows that I am a real estate agent in the area, but they don't know some of the services that you provide.
Well, I'd like to think that I provide all services related to real estate. So I am a transactional real estate attorney with my practice of Lack Chartered. Also have Waterview Title Services, which is a full-service title insurance agency, and the real estate brokerage of Waterview Realty Services, of which you are one of my finest agents.
Thank you very much. And, we haven't mentioned where we're located for the last couple shows, so let's tell them how to find us. Okay.
Well, we are in the heart of Indialantic. Actually, that's not really true. We are in Indialantic, Florida. It's not necessarily the heart of Indialantic, but we are at 1165 North Highway A1A in Indialantic, Florida. But we do cover all of the Brevard County area and, in fact, even down into the South Florida area.
That's right, because you still have offices in South Florida that you and I are both from South Florida, so we understand the niceties of living in South in space on the Space Coast and coming up from the South Florida area. So we do cover everything from Brevard, Dade County, Palm Beach County, as well as Brevard. So we get a lot of questions. Because we're in real estate, people come to us with all kinds of questions. They ask us all kinds of tax questions. They ask us all about we just had last week on the fire department. They'll ask us about fires. You can't believe the things that people ask us, right?
Yeah, well, when you're in real estate, you tend to be a gatekeeper to information because people, when they're concerned with their house, they're concerned with everything that's related to their house as well, which pretty much covers your entire life.
Right.
So they come to us, and then we have to pass them on to other professionals who can assist.
I know, and they'll always say, well, is this tax deductible, Gene, this particular thing, that particular thing? And I always say, I'm not a CPA, and I've never played one on TV. So the best thing to do is to talk to a CPA. So consequently,
we have a very qualified CPA in the room with us today. I'm very pleased to welcome to the show Tom Flavin with Flavin Nooney Person, and they are CPAs and advisors here in Brevard County. And Tom, welcome to the show.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your firm and your practice?
Well, I've been here in Brevard County since 1987. Moved up from Miami. It's been a wonderful place. I've raised a family here. And our firm was founded, I was the founding member in 1989. We're a full-service CPA firm. We help individuals and businesses with their tax and accounting needs, and also act as financial planners and advisors for our clients.
So you moved up from the South Florida area as well.
I certainly did. Originally from the Midwest, but my wife and I lived in Miami for about 7 years, from 1979 through 1987. Miami in South Florida is a wonderful place, but got to be just a little too big for us when our first child came along, and we loved Florida and found Brevard County and the Melbourne area to be just what we were looking for.
Exactly. Well, I grew up in South Florida. This reminds me of Fort Lauderdale back in the 60s and 70s.
I've heard that many times.
It's not that it's behind the times or anything. It's just a little slower paced. It's friendly. It's not hustle bustle. And so a lot of people that I know are moving up here. But that's our little connection again. Miami and Fort Lauderdale and Pompano, we're all coming up this way.
Part of that migration of those of us from the South Florida area who enjoyed it and enjoyed our youth there, but are looking for our children to experience a similar environment. But it's not available down there anymore because of all the hustle and bustle. So it's great to be here in Brevard. And for those of you who are interested, feel free to give us a call.
Oh, yeah. Give out the phone number.
The phone numbers for Lack Chartered, it's area code 321-953-5115 or on the web at lacklaw.com. And Jean, tell us about Waterview Realty.
Yes, you can call us at Waterview Realty, and I don't even know our number off the top of my head.
321-252-9566 or waterviewre.com. For the web, it's waterviewre.com.
I always give out my cell phone. I don't know if I want to do that on here, but I could. So we have a CPA, and we're always wondering, and by the way, I want to mention your name again because it's Flavin Nooney and Person, not in person. It sounded almost like we said Flavin Nooney in person, but it's and person. Tell us a little bit about what kind of services that your company provides, and what is the difference between a CPA and a bookkeeper or anyone else that does taxes or anything like that?
Well, the basic difference with a CPA, you're not just looking at or dealing with a number cruncher, and we're not even just tax preparers. We're business and financial strategists. We try and help our clients not only with the compliance issues, regulatory and tax, but also with the strategic and long-term business planning. Many of our clients come to us initially for tax advice, but then they find that we are able to help them with their business strategizing, their long-term thinking, our business experience and exposure to the area and the local market. They find these things very valuable. Of course, CPAs are licensed by the state of Florida throughout the United States. They all must pass a uniform exam and meet certain basic educational requirements. For the most part now, that's a 5-year college degree, and throughout most of the 50 states, as well as continuing professional education on an ongoing basis, on a yearly basis. So with a CPA, when you're dealing with a CPA, you're dealing with someone who is licensed, who is educated, and who is experienced.
I have one quick question, and I know Jonathan has quite a few for you, but a lot of people move here and they have a small business. They run out of their home or they start a business. Wouldn't that be the first place you'd want to go is to a CPA before you start your business and find out how to form your business, on whether you want, what kind of corporation you want to form and so forth?
Yes, it would. That's an excellent observation. So many times I am seeing clients, and I'm going to refer to this on a post-mortem basis. In other words, the tax year is over. They've already done whatever they were going to do, and about all we can do at that point is survey the battlefield and spare the wounded and dying, and there's not a lot of planning that we can do at that point. So look before you leap. Meet with that CPA, your CPA. Find one that you trust and that you feel your personality dovetails with, and meet with them and talk to them about issues like business formation. What would be the best form of business for my particular endeavor? Would it be a sole proprietorship? Should I be incorporating? How about an LLC? Should I elect S status? These are all questions that the CPA, the experienced CPA, can help you with, and can save you some heartache, possibly, if you wait to worry about that until your tax year is over. You may be experiencing often some regrets. Why didn't I take advantage of these issues and services beforehand?
Exactly. So, a lot of people don't think through those. I used to do a lot of seminars for people starting businesses, and they just jump in there and they think all they need is a license from the city or something to do their business, and then next thing you know, they do a corporation, but they don't know whether to do a partnership or an S corp, and then their taxes, they find out that they did the wrong thing, and as you said, you're out there on the battlefield trying to help the wounded.
And generally speaking, in my firm, we've always had the philosophy that when a potential client calls us and wants to come and talk, the clock doesn't start ticking for us in terms of billing. The client has to meet with us and feel they're comfortable with us, But we also have to meet with the client and feel that we're going to be comfortable working with them as well.
Right.
So that initial meeting is usually on a non-chargeable basis. And if we part ways and the client decides not to engage us for some reason, well, we've met someone new, we've made another potential friend in the community, and hopefully they'd feel the same way.
I think that's excellent because there's so many people, especially if they moved down here, maybe they've left their CPA in Ohio or Indiana or whatever, and they've come down here and now they need a new CPA, and the fact that you can meet them, kind of get acquainted, kind of a first date, so to speak, find out a little bit about each other before you decide to engage into your services. Wonderful idea. I want to give out your address and phone number here. It says 2200 South Babcock Street in Melbourne, and the phone number is 321-725-4700. And you can also visit them on the website at www.flavinpa.com.
That's FlavinCPA.com.
Oh, CPA.
Yes.
Well, I got my glasses on. I still didn't see that. FlavinCPA.com. Thank you very much for correcting that. Jonathan?
Well, I really appreciate the things you've said so far as how you handle clients and such. And I do a lot of, again, real estate and real estate related work. And many of my clients are investors and they come to me. In fact, I just had one yesterday where they wanted to transfer their property, a rental property, from themselves to an LLC. And I get a lot of clients coming to me for business formation, corporations, LLCs being the primary two, of course. And I always say, look, I can give you all the legal advice in the world. I can tell you the differences between a corporation and an LLC and why you might want one over the other from a legal perspective. But I always tell them, I'm not going to give you tax advice. I can give you the very basics of how it works with an S-corp pass-through, disregarded entities. I can throw out the buzzwords, but don't really know the terminology. I mean, I know the terminology. I don't know the substance of it, and always say, look, before we go any further, I want you to talk to your CPA. I want to confirm that this is the right entity for you. Do you have any advice for, again, I have a lot of sometimes husband and wives or single entity or, individuals who are buying, either sometimes one or two or three rental properties. And it seems like the in vogue thing is LLCs these days. I'm still old school and like corporations, but LLCs seem to be the favored entity of choice for real estate ownership. And the question that came up yesterday, and I referred him to a CPA, and I'm waiting for the response, was should it, obviously a woman, should she file as a partnership, an S-corp, or a disregarded entity? Is that the kind I know you can't give that advice on air without knowing the parties, but what general information can you throw out there?
Let's talk about those. Let's start by talking about those three categories that you just cited. When you form an LLC, you of course have an entity that is potentially taxable. Now, if you called the IRS and said, "Please send me a form because I want to file my LLC tax return," they would tell you, "I'm sorry, we can't do that because no such form exists." When you form an LLC, the first time you file for your first tax year, you make an election, and you elect to be treated either as a corporation, a partnership, or a disregarded entity. Let's start with disregarded entity. What's that? Well, that's a single-member LLC, and that has elected to be treated as a partnership. Now, there's no such thing as a single-member partnership. I can't be partners with myself. Maybe I am, but I don't have any other physical partners. So the IRS says that's a disregarded entity. The IRS ignores that for tax purposes. If you happen to own a rental property in that entity, you would simply report that on your rental schedule as part of your tax return, your Schedule E. Likewise, if you were doing some other business, let's say you were an insurance agent and you formed an LLC, but you were the only partner in the practice, you would simply use a Schedule C, a proprietorship form on your 1040 in order to report your tax results. So it's a disregarded entity. The IRS looks at it and says, it's not filing a tax return. We're still going to tax the income, but it's going to be taxed right on the proprietor's or the owner's tax return.
That would be similar to a sole proprietor.
That's correct. That's correct. A partnership is just what it sounds like. An LLC can elect to be treated as a partnership. If it has 2 members or more, it's going to file a partnership tax return on an annual